So I'd like to ask, if humanity has taken a wrong turn, why? You see, it has, and as I look at it, mankind has always tried to become something. The becoming.
Well, possibly, yes. You see, I think that I was struck by something I read a long time ago about man going wrong. And this does, when he began to be able to plunder and take slaves about 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, and then after that, the main purpose of existence was to just exploit and plunder and take slaves.
That is the sense of inward becoming.
Yes, well, we should make it clear that how this is connected. You see that what kind of becoming was involved in doing that. You see that instead of being constructive and discovering new techniques of metals and so on, they found it easier to plunder their neighbors and take slaves at a certain point.
Yes, all that.
Now what do they want to become?
That is, conflict has been the root of all this.
Yeah, well, what was the conflict? See, if we could sort of put ourselves in the place of people a long time ago, well, how would you see that conflict?
Is it that we're all trying to, it's always, in all religions, it has been, you must become something.
As why weren't they satisfied to be whatever they were? I mean, you see, the religion would not have caught on unless people felt that there was some attraction to becoming something more, right?
Isn't it an avoidance of, or rather not being able to face the fact and change the fact?
Right, well, let's see.
But rather move to something else, more and more and more.
Yes, well, what would you say was the fact that people couldn't stay with?
The Christians said the original sin.
Yeah, so that's already a long time. I mean, it happened long before that. I mean,
long before that, I'm just saying, long before that. The Hindus have this idea of karma. You see, one's brain has been trained, accustomed for centuries to go north, let's say, for instance. And it suddenly realizes that going north is everlasting conflict. As it realizes, it moves east. In that movement, there is the brain itself is changing. Right?
Well, something changes, yes.
The quality of the brain changes. If I'm not going north, and I have been going north all my life, and there's there's a stoppage of going north.
Yes.
But it's not going east, or south or west. Then conflict ceases, because it's not moving in any direction. May I talk about myself a little bit? First of all, conscious meditation is no meditation, right?
What do you mean by conscious meditation?
That is a deliberate meditation.
Deliberate meditation, right, yes.
Practice and deliberate, which is really premeditated meditation. Yeah. Is there, unconscious, no, is there a meditation which is not premeditated? Any sense of trying to become, consciously reach a level and so on?
Well, the mind is simply with itself then, silent or...
That's what I want to get at.
It is not looking for anything.
Yes. You see, I don't meditate in the normal sense of the word. What happens with me is, I wake up meditating.
All right, yes.
One morning, one night, in Rishi Valley, I woke up, a series of incidents had taken place, meditation for for some days. I woke up on one night, in the middle of the night. It was really 4:15. I looked at the watch. And the source of all energy had been reached. And that had an extraordinary effect on the brain. Mm-hmm. And also physically. Phew. Sorry to talk about myself, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
You follow? There was no division at all, only this sense of tremendous source of energy. I don't know if I'm conveying.
Yes, I mean
As I've been talking for 60 years, I like another to reach this. Because I think all our problems are resolved. Political, religious, every problem is resolved. Because it is pure energy from the very beginning of time. Leads to complete sense of peace, love, and all that. I'm sorry to use all these words. My brain, not mine, brain has evolved. Evolution implies time. And it can only think, live in time. Now, for it to deny time is a tremendous activity of having no problems. I wonder if I'm... Any problem that arises, any question, is immediately solved. It is no duration of a problem.
Physically, it seems clear there has been a process of evolution,
yes,
and this has increased
the curve going up.
Has increased the capacity of the brain to do certain things. But for example, we couldn't be discussing this if the brain had not grown larger.
Of course, I understand.
But I think when you're implying that the mind is not originating in the brain, right? Is that what the brain perhaps is an instrument for?
Instrument of mind. And the mind is not time.
The mind is not time. It does not. It
just see what it means. We're getting nearer.
It does not evolve with the brain. You see, but
sounds odd, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, it would sound odd to a person who's not used to it. It's
the mind not being of time, and the brain being of time. Mm-hmm. Is that the origin of conflict?
Well, that may be an important point, that somehow...
you understand what that means?
Yes, well, go ahead.
Can the brain itself see that it's caught in time, and as long as it is moving in that direction, conflict is eternal, endless? You follow what I'm saying?
Yes. Now, does the brain, we have to say, does the brain see? Then you have...
Yeah, has the brain the capacity to see that what it is doing now, caught in time, in that process, there is no end to conflict?
Yes. The brain functions with some dominated by time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't shift, that it's... The general tendency is for time to dominate the brain.
That is, can the brain, dominated by time, not be subservient to
That's right. In that moment, it comes out of time. And it's dominated only, I think that, I can see that, it's dominated only when you give it time. I see a thought which takes time is dominated, but anything fast is not dominated.
That's right.
I think to go further, one has to deny the very notion of time and in the sense of looking forward to the future and over the past and the
deny
present now. You see,
that's just it, sir. That's just it.
That is the whole of time and always.
Time is the enemy. Meet it and go beyond it.
But to deny that that is an independent existence, you see that. See, I think that we have the impression that time exists independently of us, and we are in this stream of time. You see that, and therefore it would seem absurd at first to deny it, because that is what we are. You see.
Yes, quite.
And
so it means really moving away, again, words, from everything that man has put together as a means of timelessness.
Yes, well, to say that none of the things, the methods that man uses outwardly are going to be able to be applied inwardly.
Absolutely not.
Because every method implies time.
Of course. It's so simple.
So you start out immediately by setting up the whole structure of time. The entire notion of time is presupposed before you start.
Yes, quite. Not deceive myself, not resist it. You understand all that? To face it and end it.
Yes, well, a psychological problem has
I'm talking of psychology.
That's the only way, because otherwise we would make it clear that we're caught in the very source of the problem.
Of course. Would that help? Would that activity end time? Psychological time we're talking about.
If we could bring this immediate action to bear, right, on the what you call the problem.
Yes.
Which is the self.
Right? So one is greedy or envious. To end it immediately.
Yes, to bring in time and thought to mediate, psychologically, rather than just materially.
Of course, keep to that.
That's if man feels something is out of order psychologically, and he then brings in the notion of time and the thought of becoming, and that creates endless problems. Right?
Would that open the door? You see, which means, doesn't it? Thought has no place, except outward.
We have to be, yes, you see, if you're going to say thought is the process which is involved in time, you see.
Of course it is.
Yes, I mean, not everybody has used that idea, used it that way, but...
But wouldn't you say thought is the process of time? Because thought is based on experience, knowledge, memory, and response. Knowledge is time.
Yes, well, knowledge...
All knowledge is time.
Well, insofar as it has been known and it may project into the future and so on.
Oh, of course, future, past.
Yes.
Knowledge is time. Through time, it has acquired knowledge. Science, mathematics, whatever it is. Philosophy, I read philosophy, I read this or that, and so all the whole movement of knowledge is involved in time.
I think that we say man has taken a wrong turn and has got caught in this kind of knowledge.
Yes.
Which is dominated by time because it's knowledge,
of
psychological knowledge, right?
Yes. So he lives in time.
He lives in time because he has attempted to produce knowledge of the nature of the mind.
Right. Yes.
Now you are saying that the mind, there's no real knowledge of the mind. I mean, would you put it that way?
What's that?
There's no knowledge of the mind.
When you end time,
yes.
in the sense we're talking about, there is no knowledge as experience.
Well, yes, I mean, we have to see what the word experience means.
Experience, memory, experience.
Well, people say, I learn by experience. I go through something.
Which is becoming.
Well, let's get it clear. You see, there's a kind of experience you get, like in your job, say, which becomes skill and perception.
Of course,
insight.
that's quite different, sir.
Yeah, I mean, we say that there's no point in having experience of the mind, of psychological experience.
Yes, yes. Let's put it there. That is, there is psychological experience is in time.
Yes, and it has no point because you cannot say, as I become skilled in my job, I will become skilled in
yes,
operating
that's
my
right.
mind. You see,
quite.
or operating. In a certain way, you do become skilled in thinking, but not become skilled fundamentally.
Yes, yes. So, suppose there is I realize knowledge is time, the brain realizes it, and sees the importance of time in a certain direction, and no value of time at all in another direction. It's not a contradiction.
Time, I would put it that the value of time is limited to a certain direction or area, and beyond that it has no value. Right?
Yes. So what is the mind or the brain without knowledge? You understand?
Without knowledge of
As
psychological knowledge.
Sorry, I'm talking psychology.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, it's not so much that it's time, but without psychological knowledge to organize itself.
Yes.
See, we're saying the brain feels it must organize itself by knowing psychologically all about itself, right?
Is then the mind, the brain, disorder? Certainly not.
No, but yes, I think people might feel, being faced with this, that there would be disorder. See,
of course.
See, I think that what you're saying is that the notion of controlling yourself psychologically has no meaning.
Yeah. So, knowledge of the me is time.
Yes, well, the knowledge...
The psychological knowledge.
Yeah. Yes, I understand that knowledge of me is... The whole totality of knowledge is me, is time.
Yes. So then what is existence without this?
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
There is no time, there is no knowledge in the psychology, please. No sense of me. Then what is there? To come to that point, sir, most people say, what a horror this is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, it seems there'll be nothing, you see.
Nothing.
Yeah.
What a...
It'll be rather dull.
You led us to an empty wall.
It's either frightening or dull, right?
But if one has come to that point, what is there? Would you say there is... Because there is nothing, it is everything?
Yes, well, I would accept, I know that, yes. I said that's true, I mean, that it has all...
No, but it is nothing.
It is no thing, you see.
No thing, that's right.
Yeah, and so far as a thing is limited,
yeah.
And this is not a thing because there are no limits.
Hmm.
I mean, at least it has everything in potential in some sense.
And so if it is nothing, and so everything is energy.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Well, the ground of everything is energy, right?
Of course, everything is energy. And what is the source of this thing? Or is there no source at all of energy? There's only energy.
Energy just... Well, the form has no independent existence. Right?
Yes. No.
What?
I'm saying there is only the form.
There's the form, yes.
That's all.
Well, there is also the energy, you say.
Huh? That's part of energy.
Yes.
So there is only this.
There's the form in the energy.
outward shape.
There's the outward form in the energy. Right?
Yeah. Would that Do you realize what we are saying, sir?
Right.
Has mankind journeyed through millennia to come to this? That I am nothing? And therefore I'm everything and all energy?
Well, it can't be the end in the sense that it might be the beginning, right?
The ending of all this, ending of time, we'll call it briefly, is that there is a new beginning.